what's normal? What is normal with all of this as Dagmar's sharing these perspectives? What is normal? What is normal for your system? Dick Schwartz will speak of this beingness that can't be diminished and can't be enhanced. It just is the self, this fulfillment, this peace, this causeless okayness. And then we all experience stress, anxiety, fear, contraction. The parts and the self, which is louder in your system right now? If I ask you, how are you? How are you? What arises? What's louder? And we can play with the foreground of parts, these, and the background of beingness. How are you? And are we able to see what arises to that question, how are you? And this is some of the fun of IFS, when it can become, our inner world can become animated with, sometimes it becomes an inner theater. These parts, this like inside the movie Inside Out, all these little parts that arise, all these voices that arise within us. As I ask you, how are you? Can you see your inner theater of, oh, where's Sid going? Or this is a little boring. This isn't what I expected today. Or wow, I really like this. Or gosh, my back's uncomfortable. Or when am I going to get to talk? As we notice the voices that are arising. Or Dagmar, we've never met her before. How cool. And Zandra, this well-known IFS facilitator and non-dual person's here. Where's that going to take us? And we notice what's arising in the foreground, and then what's it all arising inside of us? What's this, as Dagmar said, this that it arises in, this that is aware of it. What's that? What's the flavor of the beingness in you? Is it a pervasive peace? Is it a presence? What is beingness? What's your word for beingness now? Is it a connectedness? It's like a connectedness, a unity, a belonging. Is it softer? Is it more love? What's the feel of the background? And then, can it be the most beautiful art, what this is that's arising in you? Can it be so beautiful? Wow, look at these voices, these parts in this background. If you were to see it as an oil painting, if it was a movie, can you find fascination with how life is arising in you? And then let's play with one last thing here. Perhaps if you were sitting in a recliner right now, and then the recliner leans back, and as it leans back, we just fall back or sink into beingness. This self, this beingness becomes louder and more pervasive and just fills our system. What's it like to let that turn up? The okayness, the peace, the love, whatever being a self, this intrinsic nature is, what's it like to let it have you? And can we fall back into it to such a degree that the parts, there's a sense that the other voices become far off or become just faint sounds in the distance or little sensations. And we just let ourselves sink into this beingness. And then slowly, just like on a recliner chair, we're just going to Let it move up slowly. We're going to come up, come more towards the foreground. And as we come up slowly, can you find that the voice, the voice of our parts, the voice of the arisings can become relatively louder? We can start to hear them or see them or feel them more. And maybe as we come straight up, there's both. There's this almost an equal awareness of the beingness and the parts, just aware of all of this theater. And then as we have the recliner move forward more, the arisings, the weather, the thoughts, the parts become even louder, and we even start becoming blended with them. They become loud, like, oh my gosh, these things I have to do today. Oh, where are we going to go today? Was this the right thing to do? The parts that are here. Oh, my body hurts. My eyes hurt. I'm thinking about this. What's Sandra going to say today? Can we just let ourselves be immersed in the foreground, be immersed in the chorus of our parts, of our arisings? And as we're immersed and even blended as those, can there be an enjoyment? Wow, look at this theater of me. And then let's just kind of lean back, and each of us find the spot on the recliner, the spot, just the just the right mix of self, of beingness and parts. Like where does our system naturally find just that right spot, the right mix of the foreground and background? And let's just rest there. And as we rest there, just what's it like to be aware of the arisings, to aware of the parts while we're resting as or in the beingness. And I'd like to invite you to enjoy that for a moment as I do my 30-second housekeeping. So that, as you all know, I'm a mediator and not a psychotherapist. Everybody's good with that. We're friends and colleagues exploring together and being responsible for your own journeys. If I could get a thumbs up from you, please. And just notice again what it's like inside of you. What are the voices? What are the parts in the foreground? The beingness in the background. And then, as always, I've got recording going on, but as Dagmar's new with us, to share that only my image will be shared, because often I do post these and make these available for people who aren't here, but only my square would ever show, never your image. However, the audio that you do share here could be shared. And if any point there is a discomfort or uncertainty about that, just let me know, and I make you a co-host, and you click pause and it doesn't record you. That's my preference. However, at the end, you discover, oh no, I wish I hadn't said that. Just let me know and I'll delete that. If everybody's good with this, if I could get a thumbs up, please. So, welcome everybody. Welcome. And just a quick apology that you might hear some coughing here. I have a light case of COVID, and so there's only my body coughs some with that. And here we are, the five of us. I'll go ahead and I'll lock the room where this will be our group for our time together. How was that for you? What did you find? Or what's here? What's bubbling? What's it like to be you right now? What did you find? Who wants to share first?
Uh,
Me!
um, Thank you for the time and space. Um, when Dagmar was sharing her perspective on non-dual experience, I'm thinking, wow, amazing definition. I can never articulate this because I experienced the presence last time. I didn't want to, my parts didn't want to rise up. Um, but I'm expecting a company today, and I wanted to, the doer part wants to do it, but then I start to somatically, I'm feeling some anxiety and some nausea in my stomach. Um, but
V,
my system is able
when the
to.
parts aren't right, when the parts aren't rising up, as we heard Dagmar take us in,
Hmm.
what's that like for you when the parts aren't loud? What's the flavor that you find is here? What's the flavor of what's left?
Just so it's groundedness. Like I just feel so grounded in my the. It seems like all of the theater are just kind of so peaceful and grounded.
Wow. Let me just check with everyone since we get to go we get to do this exploration together as we hear V describe the groundedness and the peacefulness there. And as we can feel it, perhaps even like a tone, key on a keyboard, a tuning fork, what's it? How about that invitation to know this groundedness that V's speaking of that's arising in her in this piece? What's most like that in you that's here now? And lastly, do you have to do anything for that to be here, for groundedness or peace? Or is it just like, wow, if my foreground, if my parts become quieter, that's what's here. That's perhaps the quality of my intrinsic nature. Tell us more, V. How's it going there?
Um, I it's almost like I kind of worked on what needs to be done today. Guests are coming over. I've got drive it to guys coming in to clean the driveway, and then I need to do some shopping and cooking, and there's a joy in that too. Um, Even though everything's happening and enjoying it of the doing the work, but there's that part coming in. It's almost I'm bringing it up. What if I can't do it right? What if not everything gets done and there's one part I can pick up, I can order out.
Okay, so this, like what V's describing, she's facilitating us now. What she's describing, can we find this? It's not just her system. Can we find how this plays very similarly in ours, where we have this background, whatever our background is, whatever our self is. In V, it's groundedness and peace. And then there's life. There's this life in time. There's this, Xandra goes to pick up the kids, and Raymond's probably at work today, and he's not at work today. Um, and for V, she's having guests. There's anxiety. There are lots of things that need to be done. There's shopping and cooking. Can we the foreground? And then there's a part that says, what if I can't get it all done? Or what if I don't do it right? As we hear V's, the chorus, as we hear her parts, can we find our version as we think about our day? Our version of there's something I need to do. Am I going to get it done? Am I going to find the joy and meaning that I want today? And maybe there's even a little bit of anxiety as we think about our days in the foreground. And then here's my question for us all. Can we zoom out and see it again like a theater, all those parts? And if you can't see it in your system, maybe you can just see it in V's, the sense of, oh, I've got to go cook, I've got to do these errands, I've got to go shopping. Am I going to do it right? Can it be an exquisite theater, like we're a stage theater and we're hearing these parts and all that's going on in the foreground? V, can you see it? Is there a sense of being able to zoom out and see these parts that are here for today? What's it like to see all of that, to see the foreground, the theater of V? Oops, did V freeze? Oh, sorry. Anything arise? What's that like, V?
Um, s- I feel some sensation in my abdomen. That possibly could be the bit of the overwhelmness of the excitement to see the guest I'm trying to discern the difference with the anxiety, but it's not the anxiety. It's just somatically I'm feeling some discomfort.
Yeah.
It's it's a combination, feels like combination of seeing the family, extended family members, and the responsibility of
So can we all, as we hear this in V, can we all find this? We might even be able to feel it as she describes what she's feeling in her body. We might even be able to join her in this and feeling the sense of well, there's excitement and a little and nervousness of both. What's it like having both of those arising in us? Like can we all relate to that excitement and nervousness that's arising in the foreground? And then can we all, like if we use the metaphor of the chair, can we all lean back a little bit? Lean back a little bit into self, into this awareness, into this presence, into this peace. And as we lean back, can we still feel the excitement and the nervousness, your versions of it, but there's awareness of it. There's a little bit of space as we lean back. There's awareness of it. And if we pause here for a minute, we can go back to where Dagmar was taking us. This place of this awareness of it is just this beingness that's aware of it. And then we could also go where Dagmar was pointing. If we feel closely into the excitement and the nervousness, can we get a little tone of that? Wow, they're all of this life. They're all of this beingness. And perhaps we can find it as a vibration, a tone. Some call it a radiant presence. That this aliveness, that there's something that's the same in those seemingly opposites. You might be finding this through V system or through your own. And let's just go back to V to see some final words on what this is like, and then we'll open it up. What do you find, V?
it's almost like the oneness. It's just all one. Like how I can describe it. It's just
And
there's no
and
separation.
how do you find? And just for all of us, when we hear V say it's all one, there's no separation. What's your bridge to that? Is it somatic where you can feel the sense of the sameness? Or is it more kind of visual, like you can see the vibration or the color or the flavor is all made of the same? Or is it auditory where you can kind of hear? How do you find that oneness, that it's all of the same? Just to notice where each of us find that. And last final question for V. What's your sense? What's the flavor of that oneness? How do you know there's no C? Sense that, V.
I can I can hear that sound of the oneness. I'm hearing the sound is getting louder of that oneness. But within myself. The sound is vibrating in me.
Beautiful. How does that translate to each of us? V hears it as a sound of oneness. Is there how does that make sense in your system as you're aware of the foreground and background, the sound of oneness? Gosh, V, that was beautiful. I'd like to open it up to see what's bubbling for us, and also that our friend Xandra, she picks up her kids at like 50 minutes in. I'd love to be able to go to her next after we hear what's bubbling. Um, so anything bubbling that would like to be shared from what V just shared with us? What was that like? And if nothing is bubbling, let me just ask each of us, how are you? How are you? What's it like being you right now? What's it like being you? That's just the question. How are you? Notice what arises. Oh, I don't know if I should have said something or said talked about Xandra. Or, gosh, that was really exciting what V shared, the thoughts about it, understanding, integrating it, the sound of this, to hear it. Maybe it's an understanding part, or maybe it's just, there's just resting. There's just peace here. How are you? What's it like to be you? Because that's what we're really interested in. And so then, can you join me in a curiosity of what's it like to be Xandra? How does life play in Xandra? What's it like for her these 20 minutes we've been together? What's happening? Or what's happening on this Monday for her with her system? Hey, Xandra, what's going on?
Hello. There are no children to collect today. It's bank holiday, so
Oh,
I've got loads of time. Yeah, it's a holiday here. Um, yeah, that was good. The reclining of the chair. We ended up in a swimming pool on lilos, floating on lilos, just like high-fiving each other. And just some humor at the almost like observing it all, the stage, and we were just aware of that and um, holding it with humor. So it just felt really simple and some comedy in it, if that makes sense.
when you're
Um,
so there's a swimming pool, there's high-fiving, and there's a lightness,
yeah,
there's an enjoyment, a comedy. And so there's a sense of like awareness of Xandra's inner her system, her parts, and the play that's happening. And so there was just a sense of awareness and enjoyment of what was arising, like that.
yeah. We were just there. We just were, and it was very simple, um, and joyful, and just hey, we're here, high five, we're in the pool, and this is life, and yeah, very simple.
So let me
And then the
pause. Let me
power,
pause for a moment with this, just for everybody. What we're hearing in Xandra, this immanence, right? We're hearing both the immanence and the awareness. Like we're here in the pool. So as she speaks, there's a sense of it's not. I don't hear a real distance. There's not this whole zooming. There's not a big distance. Like there's the parts. Like as I was hearing, we're here. I was hearing both, like speaking for the parts and speaking as this awareness. And I'll have her correct me in just a moment. But how does that play in your system? For some, they describe this as when it all kind of integrates and we're fully here in our humanness, the parts in the pool, the high-fiving, the joy, the lightness of being. Like we're fully here in our parts, the experiencing of life in the pool or in V, running and doing the errands and cooking and preparing. Fully there. And also there's this awareness. So we're not, even though we're immanent, we're not fully blended as the parts. There's this awareness at the same time that we were hearing in Xandra, this lightness, this joy that was there. How does that play in your system? How does that play? This full both and, this full both time and timelessness. Xandra, correct. What are the subtleties? How did I do with that in trying to grasp what I was hearing?
I think that's right. There just wasn't very much going on. We just appeared there in the pool, and there was connection, and we were just there. And the parts were coming in like, do I belong here? Am I late? You've all started. I don't know what's going on. Um, did I get the time wrong? What time is it in New York? All of that. Just noticing all of that, and then coming back to the simplicity of just watching it all, really. Yeah, like a television program, just watching, and then watching my life play out on a television screen. Yeah, and I sense that there's someone or something watching us all, just living our lives, and with the same lightness, with the same, even us here now, just, I don't know, maybe it's a part, I don't know, but I have a sense that somewhere, somebody, something is kind of watching us all or listening to us all with love and a little bit of comedy. I don't know where this is coming from.
Well, let me ask everybody. Yeah, that's how does that play in your system? This sense of something larger, this connectedness. Or even it could be even a something, someone, this beingness. Notice how that plays. How that plays in your system. It could be, oh, she's speaking of the unity, the oneness, the beingness, the flavor of love that moves through all this, or this clarity or the knowing, or she's speaking of some kind of being, a God image, whatever it goes in you, just to notice that. And can it all be included? And whatever this sense of, like, Sandra, where does this come from? This knowing. What's your version of that knowing, of a connectedness, of some bigger perspective, to be able to see the comedy of it all? How does that play in your system? And what's it like to be the comedy of it all, to be part of the joke, to be in the play of this as your parts, the humor of it, to be an actor, to be here, and also had to have an awareness of perhaps the lightness of being the comedy at the same time, or this bigger connected perspective. How does your system do in including all of that? The other flavors for us, Sandra. What else you got for us?
I think that's it. Yeah, there's something around simplicity and drama that I'm with in my life at the moment. The simplicity that's in the background and the drama. I suppose the drama of parts, really. Yeah.
How about that for all of us? Simplicity and drama. And what's your relation inside your system? Simplicity and drama. We were hearing, and we were hearing the same thing in V, right? As she would step back into the groundedness and peace, the simplicity of it all. And then as she would start moving forward into, oh, there's so much I have to do, and the nervousness and the excitement and the cooking, the simplicity and the drama. What's our relation between the two, the simplicity and the drama? Are they separate? Like, oh, I lean back in the chair and there's the simplicity. I lean forward. Oh my God, the drama. And then some of these people speak of co-arising or simultaneous awareness of both the simplicity and the drama. What about that in your system? What's it like if we have both? And maybe we got a sample of that as Sandra was describing being in the pool at the very beginning. How do they co-arise? How are they both here in you, the simplicity and the drama? And then one last question for us all, and I'll ask Sandra too, specifically. In the midst of the simplicity and the drama and all the drama, the loudness of the play and the pool and life, the parts that are like, God, am I going to get everything cooked in time? Is there a problem here? Is there a problem that needs to be solved in the drama? So really, for each of us, in the simplicity and the drama, even when we're feeling the drama and feeling the contraction, perhaps fear of the drama and all of that, Is there a problem that needs to be solved? What's it like to be in the drama? What do you find, Xander? How does this play in you, the simplicity in the drama?
I find that question really helpful, actually. Is there a problem to solve? Yeah, that's a really helpful question, because I can get caught in the drama of not wanting drama. So the part that rejects the drama, or the blending in of parts, I suppose. So that question it's really helpful, because it just takes me to there's nothing to do with any of it. It just is. It's a helpful question.
Thank you. How does that play in each of our systems? Just that last 30 seconds from Sandra. As she describes, she notices the part that doesn't want the drama, the part that rejects the drama, that rejects the discomfort, that rejects the contraction. Can we each find that expression in us? In V's system, well, there's anxiousness and there's this and that. And maybe there's a part that's like, gosh, I really don't like this. I just want the peace. I don't want that. Can we find the part? And can we see that it's just a voice, a narrative voice, a part that says no, or says something needs to be fixed, something needs to change? And can that part be included as well in the pool, in the drama? Can that just be another voice in it? And then Xandra goes, her final line was, it just is. It just is. How does that play in your system? What's your version of that? How's this playing? And I think, why don't we open this up and see, why don't we go around real quick and hear, what's this like in your system, what Xandra just shared? What's coming up? And I'm just going to kind of go around the group and see what's here for everybody. Raymond, what's that like for you, what Xandra shared with us?
Well, I can relate to everything that's being said, because I think at some level there's nothing new under the sun, meaning that all the different thoughts, parts that can appear to any one of us can appear to all of us at different times. So it's very common to me what everyone's saying. But like you said yourself, metaphorically said, Raymond's not working today. So what that means is, for me, so I know my mind's like a mirror. And what we are calling parts today, my experience of that is there just seems to be some kind of an energy, some kind of stories. And for some of us, including myself, I would imagine, it's like a screensaver's been burnt onto the mirror. And that burnt image is me and the history of me. But what I experience as the self, if you want to call that, this background seeing and knowing, seeing without eyes, knowing without thinking, is that the mirror's empty. So Raymond's not working, because Raymond's an image. As far as I'm concerned, Raymond's an image, a lot of pictures and words that I've stored up in memory. And when I felt the pain of Raymond, then that energy doesn't rise the same. So it just doesn't rise the same. So when I come and I'm with this group, and I was looking at everyone, I was looking at my own image, and I was looking at me being silent. And that was predominantly what I'm experiencing, is just being silenced. I don't have a lot of parts rising up. I experience what we're calling parts, but they're not in the mirror today. The mirror is clear, polished, and there's nothing looking back at me. Who's looking
What
back at the looker?
what's the flavor of that? Like in V, it was groundedness and peace. This when there's no reflection, what's what is that? Is it just you just call it presence, or is it peace? Is it openness, love? What is that in Raymond's? What is that here now?
So it's all the words we would use. So it's a soundless sound. It's a, you know, it's an objectless object. It's not there, but you know you are. It's like the Rupert Spira things. You can you don't even need to stop at I am. You can just stop at I.
Let me ask everyone as we hear Raymond share this, that how does that resonate in your system? The soundless sound, no reflection, objectless object. Go back to the I. How does that resonate? What's that like in you? And if you're like, I'm not sure what Raymond's talking about, or I don't really feel that right now, do the tuning fork. See if you can tune into our friend Raymond. See if you can tune into this lack of reflection, soundless sound that's here. How does that appear in you? And then lastly, what's it like for your parts? What's it like for what's arising? For the soundless sound to be the background? Does it feel like home? Or is it like, no, we prefer a sense of a little bit more form, a little bit more love or connectedness or nurture? Just notice what's it like for your parts, the soundless sound. Anything else, Raymond, before we go to Dagmar and V with this round?
No.
Before we go, how are you? How are you? How are you? Notice the reflections in the mirror. Oh, there's this and this and this. And then perhaps this where there is no reflection, the soundless sound. How are you? How's this all doing? So what's bubbling? That was a lot. What Raymond just shared, and then where Xandra took us. How's this playing? Dagmar, how are you doing with all this? What's it like? This is your first time with us. How are you doing there?
For me, what Sandra shared, it was very nice. I felt sort of the ease of being in the pool with all the parts and just having a good time, just simply being there together, which felt lovely. Which, uh, I was, I don't think I've got quite that ease today, but it was a lovely image to stay with, so and a lovely invitation to see it that way. And Raymond, the soundless sound and the eye, that resonates, sort of in the way that I've got a very strong feeling that my existence is not dependent on this human body. And that's what it sort of referred to. So that's what I heard in that. And that is a very peaceful place.
Let me pause just a moment with that line of Dagmar's. There's a strong sense that my existence is not dependent on this human body. Just notice where that goes in your system, or your words for that, or your translation, or what's your version of that? How would you say that, or not say it? And this sense of this knowing, sometimes they call this a timeless being, or what Zandra was pointing to. How does your system sense that? And again, what would your words be? We just heard Dagmar's. My existence is not dependent on this human body. How is it known? Not believed by a part, not believed, but just not really known. What's that like in your system? Tell us more, Dagmar. What else? What else? How are you doing? How are you doing?
And then generally, being here,
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
I feel very sort of connected to the self and resting in there, and sort of some of the parts are more in the background. But I also know, yeah, well, I mean, those parts it's lovely that they can be in the background at the moment, that they're giving me some space. And at the same time, there are a lot of parts coming in because I'm juggling different things and sort of a little bit the same, so things like, and what if I, don't have enough time, sort of whose demands shall I meet and whose shall I, sort of not meet, and sort of that whole tension. And um,
But what's that like? Because this is where Xandra was taking us to the simplicity and the drama of the parts, like the both.
mm,
And
mm,
as we hear of the drama of your parts, which we all relate, we all have our own, right? The juggling of different things. What if there's not enough time? The sense of tension. What's it like
mm.
having that here, and also the sense of the connectedness to self, the resting?
Um, that's where I feel sort of that longing develop more ease with that tension. So in a way, we need that tension. Sort of uh, that there can be that creative playfulness together. So between the essence and the drama. So, and just but actually, it's almost feeling I'm aware of the drama and I'm aware of the self, and I would like to become more aware of the creative interconnection between both.
Like to be more aware, creative interconnection,
Yeah, of the creativeness of the
the
yeah.
creativeness of the
That I can
interconnection.
sort of see the tension as something, as sort of something difficult, but actually, if I could, and then we're going to holding it more lightly and being more
Okay.
spacious with it.
Okay. So
And then actually,
how about this? How about what we're hearing, Dagmar, with that voice that would like more, as because this is the same we went to with Sandra's system, with the simplicity and the drama. Have you described the essence and the drama? Showed us this playful tension. We've got both the background and the foreground. And then there's a part, and there's a voice that would like to have more of the creative. I forgot the next word that you had, but it would like to be able to see it differently. This
yeah, the
relation.
creative connectedness between the simplicity and the drama.
Yes.
I don't think that actually, yeah.
And so can we, as we hear that voice in Dagmar, and sometimes in me, that's often like a spiritual achiever. Sometimes it's a therapist part. Sometimes it's a helper part. It's like, wait a minute, if this was changed a little bit, if we could see the creative connectedness between these, life would be more flow. It would be easier. What's your version of that in your system? Because we're dealing with this, the drama and the simplicity, the beingness and the parts. Can you find a voice, just like Dagmar's, a voice that was like, wait, I have something that would make this better? Or if we could just find the right place in the recliner or the co-arising, or what Xandra said, it just is, if we could find one of those. So it's kind of a voice that's trying to find an answer, that's trying to make it better. What's your version of that? Can you find that expression in your system? And can that, sorry?
Do you mean somatically or just?
Well, just no. I'm inviting everyone to find what you shared with us. That as you shared that voice, and maybe to find it somatically, you could feel it, but you were very clear with that expression, and inviting everyone to find their version of it. And then the invitation is, can that be included? Can we be aware of that? In Sid, it's a spiritual achiever part. It's a spiritual achiever that comes in. Can we be aware of that? And can that part be in the pool as well? Can it be in the pool trying to help and maybe even get a high five? Can it be included, perhaps in the drama? Notice that. How does that play in your system, Dagmar?
Yeah, it likes to be invited in.
Mm.
And when you asked sort of what would I need, it's sort of a type of clarity. And I've recently thought about boundaries from an angle that I hadn't thought of before, but getting to know my boundaries from the inside, which
Right.
means actually getting to know myself better. You know, it's not sort of so much about keeping somebody out there, but actually having a better sense of what's in there
Great.
and getting to know the boundary from the inside. Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna push the edge a little bit on this, because this is, and I hope it's all right, because you're leading us in such an interesting place, Dagmar, for all of us. And can we hear, as Dagmar says, and it would be to have this clarity of boundaries, would have life would be better if there's a clarity of boundaries. And can you, again, in my system, it's like the helper part. Can we all find our version? Can we follow Dagmar in this? Like, it would be better. And then can we be aware of that voice, our version of Dagmar's voice? Can you be aware of, in your system, Dagmar, for all of us, this voice that would be like, gosh, this clarity of boundaries, this is what, you ask me what I want, this is what I'd like. I'd like there to be clear boundaries here. Can we then lean back a little bit in the chair and be aware of that voice, aware of that part that would like clear boundaries? Can we hear it? This one that would like clear boundaries, this other one that would like more of this harmony between the drama and the simplicity. Notice if you, and sometimes we can't. Sometimes those parts we kind of identify with those. Can we get behind them? Can we be aware of them? How's this playing for you, Dagmar?
I think it puts me into a place where I notice there's not always sort of being clear or having defined it for myself. What's my responsibility and what's others' responsibility? So it's that sense of responsibility,
Yes.
that sort of plays its part then, sort of.
Right. And so we're playing with both here. As we're hearing Dagmar, in a way, it's the progressive path and it's the pathless path, because we all know, as we're hearing Dagmar, and I'm suggesting she's leading us all in this as she's describing as she's bringing these things up about boundaries and different ideas of clarity that would kind of make life better, smoother, easier. And at the same time, there can be this awareness of just what Xandra was saying. It just is the perfection of what is, the theater. Well, this is what's arising in Dagmar. If we could even see it like a piece of art, the beauty of Dagmar's system with these parts that are arising, that want different things. It's no different than the system. Like, wow, people are coming over. I've got to go shopping. I've got to do this. I've got to manage this. Oh, I'm a little nervous. Oh, I'm a little excited. It's just a different flavor, different constellation of parts. It's, helper parts. And maybe they're spiritual achiever parts that are playing. Can we enjoy it? Can we step back like Xandra? I love Xandra's pool image, high-fiving and just seeing the drama of the parts, even the ones that are spiritual achievers. No, this is real. This is what's going to make a difference. This is the progress. This is how I'm going to get enlightenment. Even those parts, if we can see the theater of it, how are you doing in being able to see that for all of us, our own theater, and even be able to touch what Xandra shared at the end? It just is. It just is. Wow. The beauty, the preciousness of how life is showing up in us with these parts. I'd like to open this up and see how it's playing for everybody. But Dagmar, anything else you'd like to say with this? You've really opened up a lot, but I'm also wanting to be with the vulnerability of your system and sharing these parts. I'm wanting this to be gentle and for you to feel kind of cared for, connected, and supported by all of us. And so we've been using it as if you were facilitating all of us, but I'm also wanting to have just the care for your parts that you've been sharing. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm feeling okay. Yeah.
Is there anything else with this that would like to be shared, Dagmar?
I think no, I think it is staying with the parts and sort of seeing. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. And for all of us, what was it like getting the treat of being able to Dagmar inviting us to see her inner world, her theater, her parts? Was it enjoyed? Was it seen as preciousness, as innocence and beauty and perfection? Or did you have parts that would be like, oh, she'd be better off if something was different, or just to notice how that played in your system? Yeah, Raymond.
Yeah, I'm going to drop off in a wee minute, Sid. So in relation to what Dagmar and what everyone's sharing, whenever anything's coming from aliveness, it's got something to say to everyone. Whenever that speaks. And so words are important, and everybody's drama is important. But as Dagmar was speaking, I was reflecting this mirror. I'm reflecting on, and the little question that kept popping up was, well, what heals me? What is it that heals me? Well, first of all, what am I trying to heal, and who's trying to heal what? So that's the human condition. We could spend hours on that. But what heals me is, and I think Dagmar said it at the very beginning of this whole call, I don't know, I can't remember, let me just say pain and pleasure, Dagmar, but it was a positive and a negative, and you were saying that they kind of meet and blend in that oneness. So when there's nothing left to blend, that's the sense that I'm getting when I say what heals me is, so that even sometimes I'll be looking for, where did that painful part go? Where is it? I can't even find it anymore. Even if I look for it, it's not there. So what healed that was, and you've touched on it yourself here today, Sid, what heals it for me was that and sorry, Xander said it about someone watching us, someone listening to us, someone looking after us. Well, in my experience, that's absolutely true. But it's not a someone. It's not even a something. It's already all of us. And to Dagmar's point, I know I'm not the body. And actually, you could call it a part of me. There's a little voice in me said nowadays that's saying, don't share this with anyone, Raymond. You tell people that you can really see and that you're the light that's lighting up everything that can be seen, as is everyone here. So I'm not special in saying that, but that is my experience. And you know me, Sid, I've been progressively getting less and less concerned about what anyone thinks about what I'm saying. But there's a sensitivity and a gentleness in what I'm saying. And what heals me is love, which means no judgment, none at all. As if there wasn't a bad part. And we say this in IFS language, Sid, but every time I sense people talking about their parts, I can feel in that because I know the experience myself. I've tasted it, so I know what it tastes like. And I taste it and I think, you still think that's a bad thing that you're feeling and you're experiencing. And that's the crux of the matter. Who's that's calling it bad? Or that it needs to be fixed. So in some strange way, I'm doing the Anthony DeMello thing, which is stop fixing myself. Why am I constantly? And when I've started doing that, or that starts getting done, that's when love really meets me, where I start loving the parts, if you like, of myself that previously I didn't like. So I love all of myself, the rough, the smooth, the up, the down, the light and the dark. It's all acceptable to me.
These don't go anywhere yet. You just what's that like for us when Raymond is becoming more open or courageous to speak and to say, I am the light? First, just notice how that resonates in your system. And what's your version of that? What would your words for what he just said be? And then when he speaks of this gradual change in his system from something that thinks the parts, the arisings, the contractions are a bad thing, or that something needs to be fixed, to just loving everything that arises in his system, or loving all of the parts. How does that translate in your system? And I just want to tie this back to IFS. I want to say this is classic IFS. I just spent a few weeks in Costa Rica with Dick Schwartz. What Raymond is describing is what happened to Dick's system. He literally is in love with everything that arises in him, and still playing in the parts model. He just loves every part. It's like they're children. They're his children. He just loves them. And this is what we're hearing in more spiritual language in Raymond, the sense of the love that's there for everything that's arisen. How's that playing in your system? In IFS, we use this premise, there are no bad parts, but where the possibility that Raymond's describing of this it's opening in our friend Raymond, this sense of just loving everything that arises in him, not seeing a problem. And then lastly, there's one other thing Raymond spoke about, like what heals me. And I'd still like to make a little contrast there between the sense of what heals me and what Xandra said of it just is. Like, can we find that there's a part that might think about even what we're describing here, even like loving all of our parts, like, yes, that's what I want. I want what Dick Schwartz it represents to Sid and what Raymond is describing, this sense of like being in love with all of our parts and getting more and more into that. That's the progressiveness that happens. And I'm going to say both these happen concurrently. Can we hold both of these, like watching as our system in IFS, we call it updates, as it updates, as this happens, what Raymond's describing as that happens. And then there's this other thing that Xandra pointed to. It just is. Like the perfection of what is. Any final thoughts, Raymond, before you leave us today?
No, and I like your view, said that it can be both instantaneous in its manifestation, but it is progressive as well. It's paradoxical. It's not explainable. But I don't have a big loud part in me right now going, shouldn't have said that. You know, it's kind of there. So this is live, right? So it's kind of there, but it's so subtle and thin, like a little crisp wafer floating by me, like, so it doesn't, because love is brighter than anything else. And you need something brighter than what is already lit up to become what is brighter than what is lit up. You don't do it. It happens on its own. The self does not need the help of the mind. It's like the moon needs the help of the sun, not the other way around. Every night when we go to sleep, we're not conscious, no mind, but we're still there. The sun's still shining. And that becomes a lived experience, not a thought, as you say, said, not a belief. I'm not thinking this. It's manifesting on its own. And I know it's in everybody in equal measure. So it's not a special person thing, but it is a revelation. It needs revealed. And I've not done the revealing. I've tried hard, like everyone else, to fix and do and become a holy man and all this bullshit. I don't need to do any of that. I just need to be myself. So I love you guys. I'm going to have to go, Sid. My son's here. Yeah, loved it. Loved it.
Thank you for your vulnerability of the full humanity and the full I am the light, the both of those. Thank you so much.
Yeah, both and. See you later.
Bye, Raymond.
Bye-bye.
You.
You take care too.
What was that like? What did that evoke in you as we heard, as Raymond was sharing? What we got? What's bubbling? How are you? B.
There's the self, the curious part, was pretty courageous yesterday. I was able to, my system, Dagmar talked about the boundary, what to say or what for me, because I've been speaking up what I need to be spoken, but then my spiritual part said, you got to be nice. And yesterday said, I may as well be dead if I just need to be nice. And then my brother kind of laughed about it because my other sister, one of my sisters, she's just so giving and whatever, like her parts will accept. But I'm noticing some of the physical health issues with her because she doesn't, she's just, everyone admires her in terms of her generosity, her acceptance, and but my parts will speak up, and I sometimes I've been told you're not as nice as her. And I'm okay with that.
So here we go. Can we see how this is? It's all the same the way it plays, the parts and the self. Like as V's giving us another example of the play of parts, and I love hers right now because it's a polarity, as she describes. there's a part that asserts a boundary, another part that says, no, no, you need to be nice. We feel the polarity. And it's not, we're just hearing in Dagmar and in Raymond, we were just hearing how this is all playing. And it's just, maybe it's just a more spiritual version of what we were hearing in Raymond. The sense of, oh, I want the parts as they're opening to love. And this is good. It's good that parts are opening to love, right? It's about a part that just wants to open more and more to love. And then maybe there's another part that says, no, the perfection of what is, there's nothing that needs to be done. No, we need to open more to love. You can feel just the play of parts. It's just these narrative voices inside of us. And then there's this that's aware of it, this that's untouched. This is the imperturbable self, the beingness in V, the groundedness and the peace. And again, what's it in each of us? What's the background for us right now? What's the self? What's your word for self, for this flavor? And then just to go back to V system, can we just, when you hear her foreground of these parts, oh, I set boundaries. Oh, this feels good. This is good to have these boundaries. And this other part, it's like, no, 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 we need to be more like our sister. We need to be nicer. They say we need to be nicer. As we hear these, what's it like? How are we meeting these parts? Just notice what's it like in your system as we hear these parts. Is there a sense of just welcoming them, adoring them like little kids and seeing their preciousness, of asserting boundary? No, we need to be nice. Just seeing the innocence of her parts and loving them. And do you also have parts that come up? Oh, wait a minute. That's what obscures the peace and groundedness. You don't want to get caught in that. Those are so loud. You don't want to do we have parts that are trying to fix it? Parts that like trying to guide. Just notice what shows up with these parts. This is like a gentle way of being with our own systems, because it can be a lot easier to be with these parts than our own. And just again, notice what happens with her two parts. And can we find self, beingness, that just loves her parts, that just loves and welcomes and fascinated by these two expressions in V's, the boundary and the one that says, no, be nice. Like, can we really accept, enjoy, connect with, be intimate with, love these parts in V? V, in your system, can you find that? Can you find a welcoming and enjoyment of the polarity of these parts? And I'm going to invite this. Can you be aware of both of them at the same time? This is something we do that's a little different than classic IFS. We kind of zoom out to see if we can be aware of more than one part at the same time. And for Dagmar, who's new with us, one of the reasons we do this is suffering only occurs when we blend or identify with a part. And if we can be aware of two or more parts at the same time, this becomes very difficult, this identification and this blending. So it's a little trick. So can you be aware of both sides of this polarity, the preciousness of boundaries? Yay, this feels good. I like this. No, we need to be nice. Can we be aware of both of those? And what's it like? How's that play in your system, V?
Feeling very grounded. There's mindfulness also. There's my justice part coming up. Sometimes the parts, it's from a grounded place when it's seeking justice to speak up for a vulnerable person or parents. And the curiosity, because my parents are aging, and my brother saying, yeah, you can come to our house. I said, what's involved?
Awesome. Here we have another part. We have a third part showing up in V. This one that speaks up for others, has a sense of justice, care for others. So as we hear this part show up in V, what's it like in us? Is there curiosity? It's like we're watching a movie. Like, what's going to happen next? How's that part going to play? What's it doing? Is there enjoyment of this part? Or do we have this like a spiritual achiever that shows up? It's like, no. This is the drama. This is the foreground. You don't want to do that. What's it like as we hear this in B? And can we welcome our parts that show up in response to these parts? And can we also find the wonder, the enjoyment, like, wow, this is the greatest show on earth as we're hearing these parts. Like if we really could find that, right? It's so cool because then if we can find it in V system, it becomes much easier to find it in our system. Just like where Xandra took us with our parts in the pool, high-fiving. It's, whoa, like what was cooler than the enjoyment of our inner world like that, like this TV show she was watching. Anything else, V?
My system is loving it. You know, because there's some cultural burdens and ancestral burdens that come up. And, you know, since I've joined this group, there's that awareness, you know, how I'm carrying those parts. I'm able to witness. And I haven't even completed any books. And this work really resonates. Just I bought Dick's books and on non-dual parts, but this practice is really helping me. I'm grateful for this.
Beautiful. And can we see, like, as V speaks of books about this journey, that perhaps, like, can we see how V is like her own author? Like, she's the authority here. She's describing her system. And then what about where she just went? Like, we had 3 parts, but maybe we just went from 3 parts to 30 parts as she describes. And there's the cultural burdens and the ancestral burdens, and like opening up to all of those different voices, lots of shoulds that come up. Ancestral burdens, family burdens, senses of shoulds, cultural burdens. And so the theater just became like there were 3 people on stage, and then it just became, whoa, there's like this whole, it's like this chorus came and all this noise and expressions of this. Like, what about that in your system? When that occurs, when the shoulds come, the ancestral burdens, the cultural burdens, when it comes, is it welcomed? Is there space for that? Is Xandra's pool big enough where they can come in too? Even if they're not high-fiving and having fun, even if they're all like judges saying you're wrong, you should do it different, can they be in the pool as well? Like really, and also we can notice our capacity. Like we might have parts that come up and say, no, this is too much. But just like, can they how do we respond? And then we'll move on and open it up to V system when those other parts come in, when it went from 3 to 30 parts. Is there a sense of curiosity? Well, what are those ancestral burdens? How do they express? How do they play? And is there a sense of welcoming them all? Like no bad parts, all welcomed. And at the same time, lastly, as I say that, one of the gifts of IFS with these ancestral and cultural burdens is there can be a little discernment that, and we can say like, not mine. Well, those are cultural burdens. Those are ancestral burdens. They're not mine. At the same time, not resisting them, welcoming them. Woo, that's a lot. I got to shake this all. I got to shake for a minute. We can just take a little, woo. How's everybody doing? What's that like? I mean, bringing in all those parts, that's a lot. We just our like collective scene just became a lot more going on here. What's this like for you? What's this like, Dagmar and Xandra, what's going on? How are you playing on this? Xandra facilitates all of this to large groups of people, and how's this playing you as we hear from V?
I'm just still sitting with the part in me that your question, the one that wants to stay in the simplicity. It says not you, but your drama takes me out of my simplicity, so it wants to stay in the simplicity. And I have a lot of love for this part, and it is full of love, right? It's doing that because it loves. It's like a piece of Dick Schwartz, or a piece of the greater self that loves us all. And yet it's doing that, when it was kind of noticed, and it did make space through your question, what's it like when there's no problem to solve? Its wish for simplicity was achieved. because there's nothing to do with the drama. There's no bracing, there's no resistance, there's no need to avoid it because it just is. So it learned that it's okay. It doesn't need to help me in the way, it doesn't need to love me in that way. It doesn't need to, because it sees, you've had this and this and this in your life. Now you're in this place of simplicity. Let's keep hold of that. We want that. And it's really just seeing that it doesn't even need to do that. Yeah. So when V was talking, I was just with the love that is also in her parts for her. The love, the care, it's all love, really. That's really cheesy, but that's where I was really enjoying that. Thank you, V.
Wow. What's that like as we hear Xandra? She speaks about a part that just wants to stay in the simplicity. No, the drama. Just wants to stay in the simplicity. And the simplicity for us might have different flavors, right? It might be that soundless sound that Raymond was speaking of. It might be these peace and groundedness. It might be the love that Xandra is speaking of. It might be an emptiness and openness, a flow. A part that just wants to stay in the simplicity. And then how does that play? Like I'm gonna bring in effortless IFS for just a minute for 3 different ways we find simplicity, because Sandra's kind of been pointing to some of these in her experience. The first way that we find it just by separating, by just stepping back, by leaning back in the chair. Here's the simplicity. I'm zooming out, I'm leaning back. I'm just sinking into beingness. So there's just like a loving indifference to the foreground, a loving indifference to the parts. Right? A lot of the spiritual traditions, this is what they do this. This is the path. Loving indifference to the parts. They're just clouds passing in the sky. Not interested. I'm just interested in the beingness. So there's kind of an either orness. Notice how if we can all find that. Just want to stay here. To stay reclining. And as we know that, then there can be, that's the first view in effortless IFS. Go to the second view as we're resting in. If the simplicity is, ideally, if it's 51%, if there's a sense of abiding as that, if they're abiding as that, then we can just let everything come soak in us. So instead of a loving indifference to the parts, there's just a love of the parts. There's a welcoming. Everything gets to soak in this pool, this infinite hot tub. This is the effortlessness, and this is where a lot of the healing occurs. Everything gets to soak in me, in self. And then there's the third view, which is I think where Xandra's ended up in these last 2 sharings of hers, when she says, it just is. When she says, it's been achieved. And it's just like the perfection of everything, the self that's permeating the beauty of what is. Like, well, nothing needs to be done. Here we are. And just to notice as we share that, if there's a spiritual achiever that comes up and says, oh, that's it, where Xandra goes, that's better. That's better than the leaning back in the chair or being in the hot tub. Just notice that's just a part. That's just a part that would say one is better. Or if I was, God, I'm just the bliss of being, everything is self, everything is love. It would just be a part that would say that is better than the drama. See if we can find that. Any sense of, gosh, I really want that third view, or I really want the second view. It's just a part that wants it, wants something different than what is. Anything, how's that play? Anything else, Sandra, as you were, I was trying to kind of reflect some of what I was hearing in your system. Dagmar, you being new with us, how's this going? How are you doing? How are your parts? Do you have any parts that are like, I don't, that really doesn't work, or that doesn't, I don't think that translates to my system, because everything's welcome. We're just exploring how life is moving in all of us. And this is no, and lastly, no interest in this is just effortless IFS is just one way of doing this. And the ideal is that we all have our own systems. Like I love how it's been playing in V. So this is just mine. So how's it going, Dagmar?
So I think for me, what Raymond was saying, and also you were saying and then you, Sandra, all about, yeah, just that love and acceptance for the parts that it sounds very lovely. And I also know that I'm in a place where um, I feel I feel I need to know sort of how that actively plays out, that love. And for me at the moment, it is sort of trying to be more in relationship with the parts, being quite that sometimes that's what I said, sort of it's not always like being in the pool together and just high-fiving to each other and being happy with that, so it's sort of some part so that raises its voice, so and where I at the moment find it very helpful to actually sort of start, all right then, so for example, if I can't attend to it right now, how about so if attend to what I need to attend to just now, and then later on I'll give you some time. How about that? So then can you just give me that space? So and then having noticed that, that's my way of loving it, so that's
Oh,
acknowledging you. I'm acknowledging that you need me, but I'm a bit busy at the moment, so I can't do it right now. That doesn't mean that you're not important to me. I just need to do it a little bit later. And then I actually follow through with that commitment, and sit down later and sort of, okay, right, what did you want to tell me? What is it you need from me? Okay, and how can I build that? So it's I think well what I'm probably describing that sort of initial phase with the parts, when you're getting to know them and things, and then later on it becomes sort of more second nature. But I feel very much I'm still in that phase, of getting to know them, getting to know what you need, how I need to be with that part in order for it not to feel that it has to shout every now and then. And that sort of how I would at the moment translate that loving and accepting that everybody spoke about, so to that it's not just sort of that, oh yeah, I love you and I accept you. It's actually being quite in a quite proactive relationship with the part.
wow. What do we, how's this resonate? You can look at V's system. She's like, loves it. And how's that resonate with your systems as we hear Dagmar's relationship with her parts? This care, this love. Like, what's it like? How do your parts respond to that? What's that like? Like in my system, there's an envy. Like my parts are like envious of Dagmar's system. It's like, oh, I want that. Oh gosh, that sounds so wonderful. That care, that curiosity, that love, that relationship. Like, what's it like for your parts as we hear how it plays in Dagmar's, the love and care that's there? Gosh. Wow, we only have like 4 minutes left. let's get some final words, especially after what Dagmar and Xandra just shared. V, how's it play in you as we hear from Dagmar and Xandra?
It just feels like the tear of joys are wanting to come out, like in my system, and I'm a system trying to discern, like when I'm doing my meditation, sometimes I don't know why the tears are just kind of coming out. It just the appreciation, what my parts are getting, and my system is allowing the parts to come up without judgment. Because the inner critic, it was a protector. So allowing them to be here at the same time, as Dagmar said, sometimes they can be so, parts can be so loud, and negotiating, building a relationship with them and coming back to them. Thank you. This has been I just can't, I don't have
Beautiful.
the word to express the gratitude of today's work.
Wow, beautiful. How do we include it all? Like when Dagmar started off today, she was talking about even the sense of the oneness and the welcoming it all. And then we have Xandra that really took off with that, with the it just is, and it's love. And then we have the preciousness of fully meeting the parts, the welcoming, the relationship with the parts, the caring for them and the nurturing them. And just to notice, because if you listen to some of the non-dual teachers and things, there might be some idea that one is better. Oh, it's better if we're just in the oneness. But this is why IFS is so lovely for me. It's the fullness of our humanity and the fullness of the oneness, the perfection of what is. And I found that whole spectrum expressed in Dagmar today, and actually in each of us. It's just to notice if you have any parts that have like a sense of, oh, it's better if we go here, or if it's different, and just notice those as parts, and like, can we really include? How are we doing with including all of this that we've been exploring today? And maybe, Xandra, any kind of final closing word for us today? Or do we do as we feel, Xandra? Maybe that's, there it is. Anything you'd like to share?
No, just, yeah, I really love the question. How is it when there's no problem to solve? Like, I'm just taking that question with me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, all of you.
And thank you, all of us. And just lastly, just to honor your systems, because notice how this was truly co-created, that all that Sid was kind of, that would point around and things, how we each kind of led through our systems and how we co-created this today. So thanks, as hopefully you can receive this, a celebration of how life is moving in you as you were transparent and shared with us. Such a joy. Come back soon,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.